we bring in a friend who we've known for years and years and years. He's an author, relationship therapist, Dr. R.G. Alan Wilson.
Some expert advice on how we can all talk to them. Joining us now is relationship expert Dr. R.G. Alan Wilson. She's the author of Courageous Conversations Connect. Good morning, R.G.
Doctor, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Janelle. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
And as we mentioned, a lot of people just dealing with anxiety during all of this. What are your suggestions?
Some of the things that we need to remember is that this is temporary. This is temporary inconvenience for long-term gain. And as long as we stay healthy, Janelle, then everything else is recoverable.
Talk to your children about what's happening right now. What are the best ways to do that?
There's some do's and don'ts, right? So you want to tell them that you're going to be here. We're going to be okay. Kids want to know that they're secure and they're safe. So predictability, structure, and consistency. You also want to let them know you have a plan. And even if you don't have a plan, tell them that you're working on one.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, I see my bra strap showing. Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. RG here, yours truly. This is February 3rd, 2021, and this is Courageous Conversations Connect Space. We are here. We made it. It's February. Welcome. Come on in. Come on in. I see Billy Joe here already. Come on in to this Courageous Conversations Connect Space. Anyone that's on Facebook, I'm sorry, I thought I turned that off. Anyone that's on Facebook, please join us. Also, anyone who is on our YouTube, BJ usually joins through YouTube. So you can certainly go on over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, hit the notification bell. Let us know that you're on. I see Karen's on. We got a doozy for you today. We know it's Black History Month. As I said the other day, though, I celebrate my Blackness 365 days out of the year. And so I don't necessarily need a month to celebrate being Black. However, we do have this month, and I think it's a great day to celebrate being Black. So that's why the topic today is Blackness. So this is what we're going to do. I think Morgan's still with us. He's got a couple of things going on. So I might be solo for a bit, but I want you guys to think about what you're breathing for, who you're breathing for, and who you're breathing with. We're going to take a quick break from our sponsors. We're going to come back and we're going to do, of course, as we always do, our breathing exercise. And then we're going to get into the conversation about Blackness. I think it's going to be a great conversation. So tag a friend, share this post, share the video, let other people know, share, subscribe, like, let other people know that we're on. We're going to have a great conversation. I see China on, I see Doreen, I see Karen, I see Billy Joe already. Grab some other folks and bring them in onto the show so that we can have a conversation about Blackness. We'll be right back. Hey there, it's Dr. RG, yours truly. Welcome to the show. This is the Courageous Conversations Connect space, where our crew, connecting relationships for epic wins. We talk about topics that are riveting. We try to have courageous conversations. We stimulate you, hopefully. We inspire you. This show is not just aspirational, it's inspirational, motivational, and we hope transformational. And so come on in and have the conversation with us. I see Charla's on. Good morning, Charla. I see Toya. Good morning, Toya. Tell the crew, who are you praying with and for? I see Toya is, she says she's praying, breathing for Tina Hamilton. And then also Toya's breathing for Elaine Wells. Anyone else? Put it in the chat. Tell us who you're breathing for. We're going to go into our breathing exercises. For those of you who are new or who are bringing other people onto the platform, and we want you to share. We want you to share this video. We want you to give us a thumbs up. That helps with our algorithms. Tell other people that we're on this on this platform every Wednesday at 10 a.m. I see Cienta Clark. Good morning. Welcome to the show. I see Larissa. Thank you for joining. So, breathing. This is how we start. If you're new to the platform, this is how we start our show every Wednesday morning. We breathe. We do our breathing exercises. And, if you want to say a little prayer during that breathing exercise, that's perfectly fine as well. We try to share in the chat who we're breathing for and with. It can be for ourselves. It can be for other people. It can be for essential workers, people we don't even know. But we know breath is life, right? We know that as we're breathing in, what we try to do is breathe in serenity and peace and love. And we try to breathe out fear and disappointment and frustration and anger. We try to set our we reset the parasympathetic nervous system so that we can create a sort of anchor for ourselves for the day. Michelle is like, hey, Michelle, good morning. Michelle Montague is the wife of our very dear friend and our, he's just the Renaissance man extraordinaire, Daryl Montague. They own a business together. They are couplepreneurs and they do a lot of wonderful things. So we'll put their information in the chat as well. And then Charlotte's on, she says she's praying for her coworker who has COVID pneumonia. So we're going to continue to keep Charlotte's friend in our breath and in our prayer. So let's get into our positions. Get your back straight. Put your middle finger to your thumb if you can, or your hand, one hand over the next, or you can put it to the side of your lap. Okay. Remember, we're breathing life into our body. We're exhaling negative energy. And think about who you're breathing for. Larissa says she's breathing for those who are afraid to be vaccinated. Awesome. They had a wonderful vaccination process, the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium at Temple. It was moved from Christian Stronghold to Temple at the Leah Core Center yesterday. Unfortunately, I had planned to be there, but was not able to be there due to the snow. So hopefully they will have that again. But I saw quite a few people that were able to get vaccinated. So yes, let's be prayerful for those who have some fear. Fear is real. The Tuskegee experiment was not this fictitious thing. It was real. It did happen. Black people and brown people have not been treated very well when it comes to experimentation and research. And so we have, I think, a healthy fear in some ways. And certainly we tend to be have a little trepidation, but we do need to get this vaccine. I'm going to get it. I'm going to make sure that my father gets it. And hopefully we can move into a normal space. All right. So as we do that, we're going to be breathing in at the sound of my voice. I'm going to count to 3. We're going to breathe in through our nose. We're going to hold it for 8 seconds. We have not forgotten about George Floyd and that 8 minutes and 46 seconds that this knee was on his neck, snuffing the life out of him. So we do for 8 seconds and then we breathe out of our mouths. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. And breathe out through the mouth. Breathe in. And breathe out. Feel that in your tummy. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One last time, crew. Make it count. Breathe in through the nose. Hold it for 8 seconds. And breathe out. That felt good, right? That felt good in your diaphragm. All that good oxygen going into your body and the carbon dioxide going out. I already said, Morgan posted this, I already talked about Charlotte praying for the coworker who has pneumonia, and Larissa says she was breathing for those who are afraid to be vaccinated. We already talked about that. Morgan, go down to Doreen, breathing for her husband with back spasms. Oh my goodness, that's kind of painful. I get those too. Stretching is good for that. Lots of hydration and stretching. And Michelle Montague says she's breathing for all the teachers, students, and staff returning to in-person learning because, you know, it's anxiety provoking, right? I know that I was seeing where in Chicago, they were all set this week to go back to in-person learning. And then the teachers union stepped in and they stopped it because they had not gotten vaccinated, but they had done all the other things, you know, having new ventilation systems and protocols and things like that. It's just a difficult situation for everyone. So let's get into our conversation. I wanted to talk about Blackness today. This is February 3rd, 2021. This is our second season of Courageous Conversations Connect Space. And this is actually our 5th episode this season. BJ says, my family has had 2 deaths in a month unrelated to COVID. I'm so sorry, BJ. So we're sort of sending our prayers up to BJ. She's a part of our crew with the death. And we're going to talk about that this month too. We're going to talk about just dealing with grief and loss all over and how to manage death. Yesterday, I realized that in the work that I was doing, I was doing a lot of grief. I am doing a lot of grief therapy with people who are experiencing death of a loved one, multiple deaths. They're experiencing complicated grief, death sometimes of even pets. And certainly relationships have been having some challenges. So when you're splitting up after being together for many years, the death of that relationship, all those conversations around loss and grief are necessary in order for us to grow through the experience and to get to the other side. So we're going to be talking about that. It's not so easy to be dealing with these hardships. But today we're talking about Blackness, right? It is February 3rd. This is Black History Month. I've always found it fascinating that I'm grateful that we get to celebrate our Blackness in a month. It, interestingly enough, happens to be the shortest month of the year. February is usually only 28 days. And I thought about that and I said, I kind of reject that a little bit. I don't know what y'all think about that, but I reject that a little bit because I really want and do celebrate my Blackness. Being a brown sister from Black parents, I celebrate Black and brown and Indigenous people 365 days out of the year. I don't really want to celebrate only on the shortest month of the year. I believe that we are worthy of being celebrated 365 days out of the year. Every moment, every minute, every breath that I take with my Black body, with breathing in life, and I'm breathing out anything that would not honor who I am, the toxins. And so it's important, I think, 24/7, as Toy said, Black history, 24/7, 365 days a year. So I wanted us to think about that. And as I was in the bathroom getting ready today, I thought about, what does it really mean to have a blacklist? Anybody remember that show? It was a show, a series called Blacklist. It was kind of fascinating, really interesting characters on that show. Y'all know I don't really watch a whole lot of TV, but that show was on a while ago, and so I got into it for a little bit. And so this morning I was thinking about my Blacklist, and I wanted to encourage you all to engage in a conversation today, thinking about, as we celebrate our Blackness, what's your Blacklist? It's still on. Oh, Toy said it's still on. Really? I didn't know the Blacklist was still on. So I don't know that I'll get a chance to watch it again. Typically, I'm so busy. But it was a really good show. What's your Blacklist? I'm going to share with you what I consider to be my Blacklist. My Blacklist are the Black and brown people who have paved the way for me. Black and brown people who I stand on the shoulders of and the backs of Black and brown people who, if it were not for their struggle, if it were not for their challenges, if it was not for their tenacity, their endurance, their fortitude, their due diligence, their faith, in many cases, God, that I would not be here. I would not be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying. I would not be helping who I'm helping. I would not be here as what I would consider to be a young, gifted, and Black being, right? To do the things that God has called me to do here on assignment, fulfilling out my purpose in life. And from that perspective, I recognize that I didn't get here all by myself. How many of you believe that too? That you did not get here all by yourself, that there's some folk on your Black list that paved the way for you. So here's some of the people. This is not an all-inclusive list, but here's some of the people that I want to thank today for being on my Black list. First of all, my mama, Queen Elizabeth. Y'all know I talk about my mama all the time. My mother used to say, RG, open your mouth and God will speak for you. That's all you have to do. You're already here on assignment. Your path has already been, set for you. And all you have to do is lean into it, walk in your destiny, open your mouth, and you will speak to millions. And I would sit down and talk with my mom a lot. I've been missing her lately. I would talk to her about this vision that I had, that I would be speaking to millions of people. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. And if I'm really quite frank and honest, because we believe in truth, trust, and transparency leads to transformational breakthroughs, right? If I'm honest, I was so scared because that vision seemed to be unobtainable. Like I knew I had the vision, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. And I didn't know who I was going to be talking to. But my mother, who's on my Black list, a strong Black woman, said, just believe it. Once you believe it, you can receive it. Once you receive it, then you can move forward and execute on it. But it has to be a belief within you first in order to receive your marching orders and go forth living out your purpose and walking in your destiny. So my mother's the first person on my Black list. And then I have many more, and I won't go into whole details because I want you all to share who's on your Black list. But there's also people who I've never met. I call him Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman 1, and then there's HT 2. Harriet Tubman 2 is Dr. Marlene Watson, who believed in my ability to be a scholar before I really believed in myself. And I asked her one day, I said, Dr. Watson, do you believe that I'm good enough? I asked her that question. And she said, you're by far one of the most brilliant students that I've ever worked with, that I've ever taught. But she said, it's not enough, RG, for me to believe in you. You have to believe in yourself. She also said that you have everything you need. God has given you everything that you need to do what he's called you to do. And your business is called Faith Inc. You need to have faith. So she's on my Black list too. Sienta said, my Black list starts with the Black inventors that America leaves behind. That's interesting because a lot of people, and I appreciate that statement, a lot of people don't realize that many of the things that we use every day. Last night, they were talking about this man who created the ice cream scooper many, many years ago, and we still use it today. So there's lots of inventions that have been created by Black people. And we don't always know our history. Oftentimes, quite frankly, because of racism, systemic racism, and externalized messaging that then becomes internalized messaging or internalized racism, we have forgotten how great of people we really are, how creative we really are. And sometimes when we're so busy surviving, we've forgotten that we are a great people who have thrived, that there's the creative force within us that allows us to really make an impact on our lives. Toya says, my mom, Morgan, if you can go to Toya, if you're listening, Morgan, go to Toya. My mom, act like a lady. If it kills you, that's what she says. You can do anything that you want in life. That's what Toya says. So her mom is on her Black list. I love that. BJ says, RG, Your gift is unmatched. This is your true calling. Your love unconditional. You lift people up and save them in more ways than you know. You are my blessing, a true queen. Oh, BJ, that's beautiful. I am honored. I am honored to be on your blacklist, if you will. And I so appreciate you. BJ, if you all don't know, BJ and I met many years ago when we worked for Drexel University together. And I just counted a blessing and an honor to have our paths have been crossed. And she's certainly somebody that has inspired me over the years, and I believe that I've inspired her. And so we're just going to rock this thing out together. There's some people that come into your life for a season, and then there's some people that are your lifers, if you will. So BJ is one of those persons for me, and I believe that I'm one of those persons for her. Who else? Who else when we're celebrating Blackness? The reason why, by the way, the reason why this conversation I think is so important is because the truth is that we have gotten to a very dark place in this world where being Black is not always celebrated. Being Black sometimes feels like you are a second-class citizen. You know, there's the Black Lives Movement, and people talk about Black Lives Movement like it's something bad, like it's wrong to celebrate being Black, you know? And years ago, you know, Nina Simone, if y'all remember that song, Young, Gifted, and Black, that was the era where we were trying to lift up Black people and get us to feel the pride within us for being Black. Sydney Ellis. Good morning, Sydney. Thanks for joining the show. She says, good morning, Dr. RG. I celebrate being Black 365 days a year, along with the 28 days of February. We have lost 6 family members since May. Oh, my goodness. So our family has been coming together on Zoom and celebrating those we have lost and those ancestors who have paved the way. Brother Sydney Ellis. Oh, I'm so sorry about the losses that you experienced. We're going to give me thumbs up, you know, make sure that you celebrate. Our crew wants to not only celebrate others, but we want to celebrate each other. We want to continue to pray and breathe for each other. And our brother Sydney is talking about having lost 6 family members since May, while celebrating life. And we have to maintain this connection. This is what it's all about. Dr. Gale's on. Dr. Gale says, good morning, Dr. RG. Good to be here today. You know, you have always amazed me with the brilliance. Oh, thank you, Dr. Gale. My crew is just making me feel so good. Thank you for joining. I haven't seen you in a while, Dr. Gale, so I've been worrying about you and hoping that you're okay. Dr. Gale, if y'all don't know, is one of the first people who hired me after I got out of college, and I didn't know anything. So quite frankly, she's on my blacklist, right? There's a lot of Black people on my blacklist. Dr. Jennings and Dr. Kelly were some of my first Black professors at Howard University. And I just adored them. I became like their daughter. I tell you a quick story. I sat in front of their offices for every morning when they would come in and say, do you have any work for me? I wanted to do research. I wanted to work with them. And initially I was a part of the Marks Scholarship Program, which stood for Minority Access to Research Careers. And they assigned me to Dr. Sloan, who was a white man. And I wanted to work with a sister. I'm like, I got here all the way to Howard University, and they assigned me to work with this white man, Dr. King. Actually, it wasn't Dr. Sloan was in charge of the program, but Dr. King was who they assigned me to. And so I said, you know what? Listen, next semester, I want to work with these 2 Black women. And I made such a pest out of myself that they both eventually brought me onto their research projects, and I began to work with them. So they were emulating, or they were living out, quite frankly, what I wanted. They were 2 Black sisters that had their PhDs. And so I looked up to them even before I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And so they are on my blacklist because they celebrated the essence of Blackness within them. And they paved the way for someone young in their 20s like me that saw it. And when I saw it, I realized I could be it. Daryl, good morning, Daryl. Thank you for joining the show. He says, good morning. One of my blacklist people is my 10th grade home economics teacher. She made me to see myself when so many others had given up on me and said I didn't have a future. Wow. His 10th grade home economics teacher. How about that? You know, you all know I always say to the world, or to one person you may, how do I say that? Let me get it right. To the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world, right? And for Daryl, maybe it was his home economics teacher. I have a teacher experience. I have several teacher experiences. One was Mr. Pizzo. And while he's not Black, he invested in young Black children in a way that I had never, ever seen any other teacher at the elementary school level. And so y'all know I have my mentor, Mr. Pizzo story. I hold him close to my heart. Crew, please give us some thumbs up and likes, and thanks for guys. That really helps with the algorithms. So Blacklist, give us some thumbs up if you have a Blacklist story. If you have people on your Blacklist, for me, it's my mom, it's Dr. Watson, it's Dr. Jennings and Dr. Kelly, it's Dr. Gail Logan. Now, they're all people who've paved the way for me. It's also Harriet Tubman, who I didn't even know. It's Rosa Parks, who said that she was just tired. She sat on the front of the bus because she was tired. Her feet were tired too, but she was also tired of being seen as a second-class citizen. Who else is on your Blacklist? Is there someone that is young? This is Black History Month. Is it Amanda Gorman, who said, like flat-footed a couple of weeks ago in the inauguration of the first Black vice president, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden, who is our president now? Amanda Gorman said, listen, we are the light. We can be the light. The light is always there. She said, we just need to be brave enough to see it, and then brave enough to be it. That was her. So she's on my Blacklist too. And the other person that's on my Blacklist, and she always has been, I've always admired her, but of course I've been seeing a lot more coverage of her in the last week since last Thursday when she made her transition. That is the awesome and phenomenal Miss Cicely Tyson. Cicely Tyson just has been regal, had 60 years of acting, but also made sure that she took on roles that honored her Blackness and honored other Black people. And I was looking at something that Tyler Perry, who was very close to Cicely Tyson, put out the other day, where he sort of talked about just how she was set a standard. How many of you have people that set a standard for you with regards to their Blackness? I see Shira Hurley on as well. You know, this is Black History Month. You see the picture right there of our first Black president, Barack Obama, and Oprah Winfrey, and Rosa Parks. And I see Martin Luther King and Dr. Maya Angelou there, and so many others. So they're just a few of the people who we stand on their shoulders. And the question is, how do we honor that? If they've done their work, they came here to do what God called them to do. That's my belief. It doesn't have to be your belief. In an interview that Cicely Tyson did with Gayle King, she asked her just a few weeks ago, she said, what do you want people to know if when your time comes, your transition day comes, what do you want people to know about you? And she looked at her and she said, I want people to know I did my best. That's pretty simple. That's pretty simple. What about you? Are you doing your best? Are you allowing your Blackness to flourish? Are you passing the torch on? Are you giving the message to young people to be proud of our Blackness? You know, our Blackness is bold. It's bodacious. James Brown said, say it loud. I'm Black and I'm proud. Are you proud of it? Or do you allow people to snuff it out or calm it down? I see, let's see, Michelle says, my first dance teacher at East Germantown Rec Center, soliloquy, I can't say that, soliloquy in motion, who treated each of her students as her daughters and expected us to walk in excellence. I love that, Michelle. And then Daryl says, Zora Neale Hurston. Most people talk about Langston, but Zora, who inspired my writing. Wow. Zora Neale Hurston was amazing. I love her writing. I love the writing of Toni Morrison. Just amazing, great people. And think about it. These greats, they excelled in spite of the racism, in spite of the discrimination, in spite of the degradation and the othering of us as Black people. They continue to rise, as Dr. Maya Angelou says, and still I rise. It's just phenomenal when you think about it. And now at this next stage of our development, when we're in the midst of a crisis, we can't forget that. We are embarking on almost a full year of being in the midst of a pandemic that has taken over 450,000 lives just in the United States and more lives globally. And so we're in the midst of this pandemic while simultaneously dealing with the collision of this systemic racism that has boiled over. And it's just in a tipping point, quite frankly. And so, that's a picture of Zora Neale. I think this is Zora Neale Hurston. Is that right? That Morgan put up. So look how beautiful she is. Look how beautiful she is in terms of her Blackness. I mean, our people are so gifted. Talk about young, gifted, and Black. Talk about just the regalness of how we show up. I've been thinking about this for a while. These two concepts won't leave me. One is, how do we show up? And another concept is, how are we moving? So I want our crew to think about that. And I want you to put it in the chat. How are you showing up in your Blackness? How are you moving? In addition, keep writing, keep putting your list of people. Because my list is pretty long. Y'all know my list is pretty long. I've had a lot of people that helped me along the way. My grandmother. I don't know if y'all know that I'm named after my grandmother. So if you've ever wondered where I got this name, RG, actually, my grandmother called me Augie. And that was her name. She lived to be 96 years young, the same age actually as Cicely Tyson. And so I am named after a beautiful Black woman who came here from Sumter, South Carolina, was married to my grandfather on Christmas Day. And they came here to live for a better life. They raised 9 children. They had ups and downs. They had 2 children during the era of typhoid fever. Y'all remember that was kind of like what we're going through now. Typhoid fever was raging through the country, and 2 of their children, the oldest and the youngest, Junior and Mamie, died within 2 weeks of each other, while my grandmom was still raising 4 other children. At the time she had 6, and she was pregnant with my Aunt May at the time. Can you imagine how strong she had to be, right? To have 6 children, lose 2 within 2 weeks, and be pregnant with another child. And then she went on to have my Aunt May, and then had 2 other children who turned out to be my Uncle Leroy Kelly, who is a football Hall of Famer, played for the Cleveland Browns right after Jim Brown, broke records. They just were talking about him a couple weeks ago on TV, because Morgan will help me out with this. It's a guy who just met his record. My uncle had the highest record for rushing. I'm not going to get it right now. I know I'm going to get it wrong. Morgan's going to have to help me out with that one, possibly. But anyway, this guy broke the record finally after 50 something years. So my Uncle Leroy is now, he's been in the Hall of Fame since 1994. And he was an amazing football player. And my Uncle Pat Kelly, played for the Baltimore Orioles, first for the Kansas City Royals, then for the Baltimore Orioles. And then he became an evangelist minister and traveled the world. So talk about strength. She could have given up after she lost her 2 children, but she went on to have 3 more children, 2 of them who ended up becoming professional football and baseball players. And so that's that internal strength. So she is on my Black list, along with my other two grandmothers, Lillian Allen, my father's mother, as well as my grandma Lazane, who was, how many of you all had this, where a person came to take care of you? Grandma Lazane came to take care of us. We didn't know her, but she became our grandmother because she was with us every single day. And so that's kind of what happened in our community. We and children did not call people by their first names in the Black community. You had to put a handle on the name. It was grandma, granddad, pop, my mom, auntie, uncle, aunties. Rock, by the way, I've been an auntie to my nieces who I share bloodline with, but I've been aunties to other people who I don't share bloodline with as well. Deborah says, my grandfather, Julian Francis Ebel, I'm going to say that wrong, I apologize, who was the first Black president of his class, School of Architecture at the University of Pennsylvania in 1902. He went on to be chief designer of the Philadelphia Museum of Art and other Philadelphia landmarks. Wow, Deborah. That's pretty awesome. So I'm sure that he's on your Black list. BJ says, Stephanie Brooks, for me, my life was complicated and she made me sure I got help and still set me up for success. I was able to heal and grow because of her. Stephanie Brooks is awesome. She's also on my Black list as an amazing woman that continued to lift other people up within the Black community and certainly within the academy. Morgan just put my Uncle Leroy on there. If you can see him right there, looking all handsome, number 44. And he just did the darn thing. He was a beast. And a force to be reckoned with, one of the greatest running backs that has ever lived. And he's still doing really well. He lives in Willingboro, New Jersey, and his sons actually just had a baby, a little boy. And he has his other son, his son Leroy Kelly, just had a little boy. And his other son, Craig, my cousin, is just about to have a little girl. So God bless them and the continued legacy of the Kelly family. And so Gail, what is Gail saying? Gail says, we as people must be persistent and do not dismiss or ignore experiences that are unfair. At least state the person, the racist was not acceptable. How else will culturally insensitive and intolerant people learn? Confronting issues that are disrespectful may not change the stereotype belief, but it will not set up a place in your head to lower your sense of self-worth. I like that, Gail. Basically calling out racism for what it is, calling out, discrimination for what it is, calling out degradation and even what has happened recently in terms of the insurrection for what it is. It was based on racism, and it was based on people who felt that they were better than Black people and brown people due to white supremacist ideology. Dr. RG, thank you for the comment about me. I feel honored, she said. Awesome. I am honored to have had you in my life, Dr. Gail. Toya says the type of strength is definitely internal. My mother took care of the entire family and community, and now we take care of her. That is awesome, Toya. I mean, we got to take care of our seniors. We got to take care of each other, but we also have to take care of our community. And as our community grows stronger and we lift each other up, we lift ourselves up, we move towards a greater state of being, celebrating our Blackness. So listen, I want to continue to hear about your stories around who's on your Black list. Put them in the chat. We're going to talk about it. We're going to take a quick break from our sponsors. We will be right back, celebrating Blackness. And good morning, it's yours truly here, Dr. RG. Welcome to the Courageous Conversations Connect space. This is February 3rd, 2021. And our topic today is simply Blackness. How you moving? How you feeling? How are you showing up in your Blackness? Come on, tell us, as part of the crew, and please do me a favor, give me thumbs up. That helps with our algorithms. Also, share this video with someone else, like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That really helps us to share the word about what we're doing every single Wednesday at 10 a.m. as we have the Courageous Conversations Connect space. This is Black History Month, but you all know we are celebrating our Blackness 365 days a year, 24/7. It's nice as Nina Simone said, it's nice to be young, gifted, and Black. It's also nice to be seasoned, gifted, and Black. There should be a bridging of the gap, if you will. And James Brown says, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Well, here is the courageous conversation as we talk about, and as we think about who's on our Black list, right? Who are the people on our list that have lifted us up? Who are the people that we are to thank and honor because we did not get here by ourselves? Who are those people? Do you call them up? Do you thank them if they're still here? I left one person out, well, many people out, because there's so many people that contribute to my Blackness, to my success, to my significance, because it's not just about being successful. It's also being about significant and also making a difference. So I want to shout out to my Aunt Dorothy, Dorothy Allen, who is a deaconess. So she is 90 years young, and she is my aunt, the oldest in the family right now. And she has taught me everything I know. And then Morgan put a picture up of my Uncle Pat Kelly. They used to call him the Black Irish. Do you believe it? Because of the last name Kelly, of course. And again, that was when he started out with I think it was the Red Sox. And then he played White Sox. White Sox? I can't hear you. Anyway, that's when he started out. And then he also played for Kansas City. And then
the card clearly says White Sox, and you saying Red Sox. The card says, okay.
Oh.
Listen, you can't do that. Why do you take it out?
so I can hear, because I have to take it out. Sorry about that. So I'm sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry. I have to take this out so I can hear Morgan when he comes in, and I forgot to unmute myself. So I apologize for that. So where was I? Where did I leave off? I hope you all can hear me now. I think I started talking about the movie The Butler. And in that movie, it was about a man who worked in the White House, and he saw atrocities. And one of the atrocities that he saw was that his mother was being raped by this man who I guess was the slave master or something like that. And he looked at his father to say, do something. And when his father felt the embarrassment of his son seeing that he wasn't able to do anything with his mother being assaulted, then the father did do something and he spoke up. And when he spoke up, the white man shot him. And so that sent a message to this man who ended up working in the White House that when you speak up, some bad things happen. And so he muted himself. And that, I think, is a story of many of us that mute ourselves. We mute our Blackness. We mute our freedom. And so we're walking around, we're moving around, but we're not being authentically who we are as Black and brown and as Indigenous people. The story goes on, and I think Oprah Winfrey was in the story, that this man had a son, and the son was a part of the Black movement. And the son was in some ways embarrassed by his father because he was like, man, you got to speak up. You can't be silent. And so there was an interesting cycle of these 3 generations of men, the butler's father who spoke up and got killed, the butler who then muted himself because he feared being killed, and then having a Black son, 3 generations of men who said, I'm not going to be silent. But in the end, he began to understand the quandary that his father was in, where on one hand, he wanted to speak up. On another hand, he recognized that that was going to cause harm to his family. So I share that, and Charla said it was an awesome movie. I share that movie because I wonder how many of us, Oprah was in that movie, how many of us are in a quandary sometimes, when on one hand, we want to celebrate our Blackness, and on the other hand, sometimes we find ourselves feeling like, oh, well, in this board meeting, is it okay to be myself? Is it okay to wear my hair natural? Is it okay to show up with all of my unique characteristics that speak to my awesome and bodacious and phenomenal Blackness? Is it okay to be young, gifted, and Black and beautiful and be proud of that? I think that is a quandary. And so then I find that for many of us, we do what we call code switching. So we'll show up in one place and we'll present one way, and then show up in another place and we'll present another way. And I'm not talking about just showing up at an interview and being professional. I'm really talking about sort of muting a huge part of yourself, because in some ways in the society that we live in, quite frankly, for some of those people, for the 70 million people that may have voted for Trump, those people may not particularly care for your Blackness. And by the way, some of those people are working with you, right alongside you, in the same cubby as you, or in the same business as you, or maybe business owners. They may be running the show. How do you present yourself in a way that is true to who you are as a human, as a Black person, as a brown person, as an Indigenous person, while simultaneously navigating the terrain of people who may not necessarily respect your Blackness? So that's the question on the table. As we celebrate our Blackness, as we honor the shoulders, the backs that we stand on, the Black list of people who have elevated us, how do we do that ourselves? How do we? So this is what. Morgan, I thought he was coming on. No? Okay. He came on and so what is your thoughts about that, crew? This is a quandary for many of us. And I dare say it's not just a Black problem. It's a human problem, because I believe that we need to be on a journey as humans where we have all people on a similar page, so we can have those courageous conversations. We need people who are interested in anti-racist movements as well, our white allies that stand with us and also celebrate our Blackness. And why is that important? Why is that important? I think it's important because Blackness hasn't been celebrated in many ways. Blackness has been demonized. You know the saying, if you're white, you're right. If you're brown, stick around. If you're Black, get back. That statement is stated for a reason. It is a part of our history. it is a statement that has a subliminal suggestion to every Black and brown and indigenous person that we encounter. And so it's important, I think, that we really tell the truth about the ways in which Blackness has not been celebrated so that we can eradicate it, especially for the next generation who we know are going to need to be proud of themselves if they're going to excel, because self-esteem is important. Morg, do you want to share something?
Yeah, I just wanted to come on because I wanted to I think it's important to celebrate some of the living current heroes, and one more fitting couldn't be this brother right here, Eugene Goodman. This brother right here, no problem no question, hands down has turned out to be an American hero, and more specifically a Black American hero. Wanted to celebrate him, wanted to give him his props and his kudos, because at first a lot of people, the initial thought was that, okay, how could he run away? Why isn't he shooting? But again, as things unraveled and more of the details came out about what he did from a police officer perspective and a tactical perspective, this man, no question, hands down, single-handedly saved many, many lives. And I wanted to give him a shout out. Eugene Goodman, fine brother, and a great police officer.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Morgan, because, I like the fact that his last name is Goodman, like Goodman, good man. And yeah, he was one of the first people I saw. If you all remember, we were on this show the same day as that insurrection. And right after the show, I went into seeing clients, and typically in between sessions, I'll turn on the TV, and I turn on the TV and I see these people scaling walls, and I see this video of Eugene Goodman, and I'm thinking to myself, my first statement was like, oh my gosh, I went into prayer for him because he was all by himself. And then we hear the story a couple of days later of how he had the presence of mind to move people away from where there was an open door and where people were in the Senate and they had not gotten to safety yet. So he did, as Morgan said, save lives. It's interesting also that Morgan brought that up, because I do think that we need to celebrate living heroes as well. That there was a man who got killed, who was also a Capitol Police officer, and he lay in state last night in the Capitol with people honoring him as a police officer. Well, police officers are near and dear to me. Good police officers like Eugene Goodman, because my father was one. And quite frankly, Morgan's uncle was also a police officer around the same time as my father. He was a sharpshooter for many years. And so their police men and women do the work to protect us. That's what they're supposed to do. Now, albeit that there does need to be police reform, because there are bad police officers that are not trying to protect us. They're not trying to serve us. And quite frankly, they function in some ways as terrorists. They are not honoring and trying to serve and protect. They are terrorizing. And those people need to be weeded out so that everyday citizens can feel protected. So that's for another conversation. But today we're celebrating Blackness. Dr. Gale says, I want to mention a Black-owned bed and breakfast called Aquaba. Oh, I know that bed and breakfast very, very well. The owner was a chief editor of Essence Magazine. The rooms of Cape May are dedicated to famous Black people such as Baldwin, the Baldwin Room, and other creative people. There is Aquaba by the Sea, Washington's Brownstone, Aquaba Mansion, Brooklyn, Aquaba Philadelphia. I didn't know they had Aquaba Philadelphia. I got to check that one out. The hospitality is excellent. Everyone has happy hour and breakfast together. Thank you, Dr. Gale. I've been wanting to get to one of her establishments for a while. There was a show, One Own, that celebrated this woman. I want to say Monique Greenwood, I believe is her name. And she wrote a book. I think it's called Having Our Say or something like that. I could be wrong with the book title, but she is amazing and her bed and breakfasts are awesome. And when we are able to sort of get back to some type of normalcy, Morgan and I are definitely going to be checking her out. So yes, Black businesses are important as we celebrate Blackness. And how many
Black businesses have not been able to thrive or even survive, quite frankly, because of this pandemic. It requires a lot. Morgan sent me a video this morning of this woman who has a Black establishment called Duafe. I don't know if you've all heard of her. Her name is Sarita, and Duafe is also a Black business. And she has on Instagram, you might want to check her out. She calls it Duafe Stories. And she talks about giving and paying homage to the people who have lifted her up, people who trained her, who taught her, who elevated her, who supported her along the way during the even beginning stages of her business, who taught her how to do hair, and people who taught her the story of Black hair, if you will. And I thought it was just fascinating. I think that it's right in line, quite frankly, with our conversation that we're having today as a part of the crew. Give me some thumbs up, some smiley faces if you can. Make sure that you share this video. Subscribe to our YouTube page over at YouTube, if you will. That YouTube page has some really good content, old content. We're going to be putting some new content on there as well. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, Black people historically have not sought out therapy. And as I talk about the stories of us, we have endured way too much trauma, way too much hurt, way too much pain. And this is a time of healing. And so as we elevate Black businesses, want to make sure that not only do you check out Duafe in terms of, you know, her story around Black hair and celebrating her as a Black owner of a salon that does stellar work for years. As a matter of fact, my mentor, Dr. Marlene Watson, has gone to Sarita for years when she had very long locks. But we also need to be about the business of our own healing. That's a picture of Sarita right there. Gorgeous picture, gorgeous Black woman. So check her out. She does, and she also makes sure that her salon is clean and safe, and does the CDC protocols to make sure that there is that people are safe. So she's been open for business, and no one has gotten COVID. So she makes sure that even if someone has been out of state or out of the country, if you will, that they reschedule those appointments and make sure that they get in. So she wants to keep her clientele safe as well as herself safe. And I wanted to also talk about, as I was thinking about they said having what matters. Having What Matters is the name of the book. I do have it in the office too. The Having What Matters is the name of the book, Monique Greenwood's book. Her book was definitely excellent. As I was talking about therapy, if you're struggling with trauma, Dr. Gail Logan is on. She can attest to this. Myself as a therapist, Sheila Boyton has hopped on now and again. She has a practice called Soul Transformation. Of course, you can always reach out to us at Faith Connects Inc. or Faith Connects LLC. I'm doing therapy every day, usually Monday through Thursday, sometimes on Saturday. And if I'm not able to help, then I try to refer you to someone else. But therapy is important for our Black folks. You can reach us at 215-789-6999 or contact us at connectionsmatterllc.com. Our website is drrgconnects.com. Reach out. Therapy is important. Our healing is important. We've gone through a lot of trauma over the years. And in this last year of 2020, there's been a lot of trauma that we've all endured. Be able to process it. As I said a little bit earlier, I've been working with a lot of people around grief and loss of loved ones. Somebody on this show talked about losing 6 family members. Prayers up to them and their family for losing family members. BJ talked about losing family members. So people are losing people due to this COVID-19. Never before have we experienced the level of grief, whether it's loss of jobs, loss of life, loss of food insecurities, loss of housing, loss of relationships. We've just incurred a lot of loss. So I encourage all of us. I think everybody needs a good therapist, somebody that they can process and talk with and give them some skills and some tools, but also just a pathway to healing, and be able to process what it feels like to experience Blackness in a world oftentimes that doesn't honor us, and what it feels like if you are an ally, if you are a white ally, if you are in a movement participating in our movement of anti-racism. All of that requires a lot of energy, and it requires that we step up. But as we step up and as we show up and as we move towards the goal, we also need to make sure that we're working towards our own healing. So, I encourage anyone to explore the possibility of therapeutic intervention. If not that, then perhaps some type of coaching to help you to shift gears, to move towards a place of transition or transformation. We say here, truth, trust, and transparency leads to transformational breakthroughs. How about that? How about breakthrough in 2021 as you begin to celebrate all of who you are, of whose you are, and where you're going? And what does it look like in 2021 to show up big, showing up big for yourself, showing up big for the people in your community, showing up big for your family, and showing up big for the people that will come after us? Don't we want to leave this place better than we found it? Well, in order to do that, we have to feel good about us, right? We have to feel good about how we are internally and externally. So don't allow the dream squashers to get to you. Connect yourself with dream lifters. And as we connect ourselves with dream lifters, as we celebrate and honor the people on our Black list, right? Then we'll focus on love and light, truth and accountability that brings us hope and freedom. Woo!
That's all I got for now. Listen, I love you guys. I hope that you continue to celebrate your Blackness, not just in Black History Month, although Black History Month, we'll be talking about it and it's a good thing, but also every single day. And if you haven't done this yet, call somebody on your Black list. Tell them thank you. Tell them you appreciate them. Affirm them. Love on them. Elevate them. Send them a card. Do something for them to let them know that you appreciate all that they have done for you and that you recognize that you did not get here by yourself. All right? All right, guys. Well, listen, we love you. We wish that you will have a beautiful day, of course, on purpose, and from our heart to yours. And we just wish that you continue to celebrate life and your Blackness. All right? That's all I got. We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Take care. We'll see you next week.